to see the red
Okay,
button.
now it's going. Yeah.
Thank you. So good afternoon again
Thank
to everybody. Nice to meet you again for our last lesson before the project work. So this afternoon, I would like to start again from the last exercise we tried to do together. I will show the document in order to see it again together and to use it. So the document that we tried to complete last time was the individualized education plan. We tried to go through this document, which is made for a student with a special educational need. This special educational need can be of in three different situations. We can have a student with a disability, which is something very clear, very defined. We can have some student without any disability, but with a special educational need that can be defined by an operating profile, which is made by a medician, of course. And we can also have a certification, we can call it, or we can have a student with a special educational need without any certification, but we know that there is the need to find some way to give this student the opportunity to learn exactly like the other ones, starting from the observation that we do inside the class, or even from some evidences that we can get from the family or from the student himself. So we went through the document. We talk about the member of the team of inclusion, and we specify that they need to have a different role inside the school in order to cover different aims, different goals that we want to achieve by this individualized learning document. We can collect some information from the family in order to have a better description of the starting situation of the student. So we can complete the so-called info board with a description of the situation. It can also be a self-description. Then, starting from that, we can put some evidences of starting from the functional diagnosis or the dynamic functional profile that is presented by the family. This is the certification in which we have the exact situation in order of special educational needs of the student. And starting from that, we can put some special special attention on different dimensions. That's to say, the socialization, interaction, relationships dimension, the communication and language dimension, the autonomy dimension and the orientation, the cognitive, neurophysiological, and learning dimensions. We can check only one or more than one of these dimensions, of course. Starting from that, we can define a connection with the individual project. That's to say something that is more wider. We will talk about this wider project today after this first part. And then we will put the observation on the student, starting from what the student can give to the school and to himself, herself, in order to build an educational and didactic intervention. That's to say, the strength point of the student on the same dimensions. Then we can define the objectives that we want to achieve, the tools that we want to use to achieve the goals, and the strategies and methods that we would like to use in order to define a real path and to have the opportunity to check this path in the midterm and in the long term. So, for instance, it's exactly the same table for each dimension. You can see references made to the affective relational sphere, considering the area of the self, the relationship with others, the motivation towards the conscious relationship, also with the peer group, the interaction with the adults of reference in the school context, the motivation to learn. We observe all this area and we can define some objectives and specific outcomes. For instance, if we can notice that the motivation of learning to learn is lower that we need it to be in order to achieve the goals, the general goals of our specialization, we can put it like an objective, and the expected outcomes can be both hard and soft. So we can notice that we can achieve, that we have achieved the objective, for instance, with a better notes in our subject, but also with the more active participation in class, but also with different general behavior of the student towards the others and towards the teachers group. Educational, didactic, and methodological intervention strategies and tools. For instance, individual interview in order to push the student to have a different behavior, find some specific part of our subject in which the student can be a protagonist, can be the one that we define as the leader of, for instance, the specific team, giving him or her more responsibility in order to making something to start inside his motivation, his personal motivation. And then verification methods, criteria, and tools used to verify whether the objectives have been achieved. Of course, the observation during the class, during the explication, during the homeworks, during the correction of homeworks, during some team groups that we can use in order to see whether the motivation of the student is increasing. And then we see that this scheme is exactly the same for communication and language. Talking to that, we think to the linguistic competencies. I'm sure that you remember that one of the skill competencies of the new European framework is using the mother tongue. So this is exactly what we can match from the first part of our meetings in order to find special deepening knowledge of the competencies, of the new competencies that we can use inside the class with our students. And this is, for instance, one of the output, comprehension of oral language, verbal production, and related communicative use of verbal language or alternative or integrated languages. For instance, we can consider the use of language if we ask the student to use some images, to use some photos, to use some pictures in order to use these tools to give us as a method to explain us the level of understanding and of achieving a specific skill. I'm thinking about, for instance, computer-aided design. This is not, of course, an oral language, not exactly a verbal language, or but it's something that we can consider as a specific language in order to make us understand the comprehension of the way to plan and to product, and then to product mechanical particular. Autonomy orientation. So here we are thinking about something which is more related to the personal and social autonomy of the person. This is very important, for instance, for work-based learning, because in this situation we need the student to act with some autonomy, because he is in a very different situation from the one that we can also try to create inside the school when we are in laboratory, because in laboratory we try to make a simulation of the work environment, but of course it's only a simulation. So we need to really understand which is the level of autonomy of the student in order to find the correct situation to improve this autonomy and to give tools to find some help if we notice that there isn't enough autonomy in order to achieve the goals that we would like to the student will have at the end of the experience. We can also think about more physical situation. For instance, sensory dimension. I think about some students that have a long way to come to school, a long way to go to work in order to be able simply to arrive on time, starting from the correct idea of the timing that they need to go there. That's a very basic, but it could be an example in order to be able to understand. If we notice that every morning the student is on late, we can try to check whether this situation is due to some objective difficulties, some personal difficulties, some difficulties in orientation, it could be. Then the last very big dimension that we have to check is due to cognitive dimension, the capability of the student to learn, and in which way, starting from memory and intellectual abilities. Very important is the organization of space and time. Why? Especially whether we have students that have to use some tools inside the companies in which they are going to have their experiences of work-based learning, or of course inside the school using the tools that we can offer them in the laboratory. Why? Because the incorrect use of space organization could have as a consequence the fact that the student is not able to use in the correct way the device, is not able to keep the spaces in order. We simply have to check, starting from the observation and not going immediately to the conclusion, but trying to analyze whether this situation is due to a lack in this dimension specific. Very important, the ability to solve tasks, understanding the messages and languages that are used to propose the problem to solve, the situation to solve to the student. So the question that we should make to ourselves is whether the lack of solving skills is due to the difficulty of understanding the task, or to the difficulty of having the correct cognitive dimension that can give the student the opportunity to solve the task. So the last part of this document was about the final verification of results. Of course, this final verification is something that we can do every year, and it is very important to do that every year, because in this way we can learn from our strategies and from their verification. We can find some best practice to adapt to other students that could find themselves in the same situation. We can also exchange these good practices with other schools. Finally, a good table of improvement of our action in order to always better our didactical approach towards the students. Then there is something that we can add, which is the school context, and are there maybe barriers or facilitators that can block or help to achieve the goals? I don't know, maybe we can find that the student behaves in a better way towards the learning path, whether he is in a one-to-one relation with the teacher. Of course, it is very difficult to find a one-to-one relation when we have to stay inside the class. So maybe we can try to check whether it is possible to find some specific moments, some specific time dedicated to the student in order to give him or her the condition, the context that is the best to achieve his or her goals. And then we can check this another very important thing, context-based interventions to achieve an inclusive learning environment. Maybe last time I also gave you this example. If some students have difficulties in achieving the explication that we do in our subject the first time, what we can do is to write on the blackboard, of course, some points to underline the very important things that we said. I think that we all do that. But what we can do more starting from these things, because when we erase the blackboard, everything we wrote is gone. So maybe it could be useful to fix what we wrote on the blackboard simply by making a picture. And this picture, all the pictures can be related to the specific lesson, and they can be shared, for instance, to the students using a cellular phone. It is only a suggestion, it is only an example. Maybe when I saying that, you are already thinking to different examples and different situations in which you can use something that is inclusive learning, which is good from your students with special educational needs, and are, of course, very useful for everybody, because it is an intervention that can be helpful for everyone, for everybody. Of course, it is important to see if our energy on these methods is useful. If we find some that this practice is good for the students. Another example that I can give you is the company testimony. Sometimes we can find a person coming from the company in which we plan to have one of our students on a work-based learning experience, to come to school and to speak to the students. This is very interesting for them. I would like to know whether you already tried this situation, and it is especially very interesting whether the person comes from the school, already knows the school, knows what the students are learning, because in this way they feel much more on ease in talking with this person, and in achieving the skills that they need to go through the experience in a good way. Did you already, maybe did you try again this situation? Did you had the opportunity to have some company testimony at school, talking to the students? Well, this is a very good way to create bridges with the companies, because they can understand that you are working to prepare their future workers. This is very important also to create a trust between the company tutor and the school, and then the school tutor for the internship and for the work-based learning. Okay, I go on with my presentation. Then something that we can do is to define some interventions on the curriculum. So to find something specific for this student with the special educational needs. Of course, we do not do something widespread. This is very individualized, so we have at the beginning to understand what is the starting point of this specific student. For this reason, we have we can follow a checklist that helps us to define some on or off points on which we have to or we do not have to work on. For instance, subject, I don't know, mathematics. A, the student follows the didactic design of the class and the same evaluation criteria is applied. With respect to the didactic design of the class, the following customized are applied in relation to the specific learning objectives. With identical checks or differentiated educational path with identical checks or with equivalent checks. What are you talking about? So we was correct. It was the subject. Was the subject. We can think about, for instance, a boy with some difficulties in writing, for instance. It is very important to understand whether we can apply exactly the same way, not only to give him the skills during, for instance, our explication or not, and whether we can use the identical way of checking the level of skills that he achieve, or we have to use something which is not identical but equivalent. I'm sure you remember the description that we made about equivalent. It is not equal, it is something that has the same difficulties and that can have different methods or different ways or different lengths instead, but without losing in quality. For instance, if we have a student that is that has not the same speed of reading. We know that all the students read, for instance, 10 pages in 1 hour, while he has 5 pages in 1 hour. We can find a task that has the same difficulties using a smaller number of pages to read. With this is an example of equivalent check. Then we have the part which is about the work-based learning. So it considers the opportunity of finding a specific way to add soft skills and hard skills during a period in a company. Of course, you have all the information about the company. You have the information about the tutors that you have to do to involve inside the project, and you have the timing of the experience. If you consider the path project, you have to state exactly the objectives that you want to achieve during the training project. For instance, using a specific device with a good autonomy in order to prepare mechanical particulars. Typology of the context with the indicator of barriers and facilitators. Maybe we do not have any. Maybe the student have some difficulties, for instance, in reading instruction. So the barrier is reading instructions, and the way to go over these barriers, the facilitators, is the company tutor will read, will explain orally the instructions instead of leaving the student read the instructions. Then type of activities. Here you have some example: meeting with experts, company visits, simulated training experience, project work. You can put one or more of these activities. You can define the correct activity starting from the personal situation of this specific student. Monitoring and evaluation. For instance, every 2 months, the school tutor will have a visit in person in the company, or every month the school tutor will have a call, a telephone call with the company tutor in order to check whether the activities are completed, whether the student is achieving more skills, whether the general behavior and the specific behavior following the rules of the company is on the standard. You can also have the involvement of the collaboration network of territorial services, whether you have some students with very strong difficulties. For instance, whether there is a disease in that need a specific help for the student. And then to have the final verification. This final verification is always a very important part of the project, because it is very important to understand whether you can do this project again, you can replicate it, you can modify it, and how. It is very important for the feedback of the experience, and it is based, of course, on the feedback of the tutors. You have a specific part on the behavior assessment. Behavior is assessed according to the same criteria for a class as for the class, or is based on the following custom criteria. Of course, if you know that this specific student has some behavioral, I don't want to say problems, situations, you have to consider them in the assessment. I refer to behaviors that are related to special educational needs, not to general behavior to be considered as something that is part of educational tasks of the school. Another part of this individualized learning path is something that you, in which you put the resources, the human resources that you have at the school in order to help these students. This is a specific timetable in which you can put the information about the student. Whether the support student is present, you can put, for instance, SOST has an abbreviation. If you have a communication assistant, you can put, for instance, us, which is only an abbreviation of assistant. Or you can put assistant. Then in the last part of the document, you can put some information that are important for the teaching class council. For instance, does the student attend with reduced hours? Yes, she is present at the school for instance, 12, 20 hours per week compared to the complete weekly calendar of the class. Why? Because you can put, you of course have to state the reasons of these differences. Maybe it is easier if I put it bigger. Okay. For instance, he has to go to the hospital, and the time he is not at school, For instance, he is um, very weak in a specific period, so it is not good for him or her to come to the school for all the time. There can be also family reason. There can be some difficulties that can be requested by the family or by medications that follow the student. Is the student always in class? Because we can have a student at school, but maybe he is not inside the class. Yes, or no, depending on the timetable at the school year, or depending on other situations. And we can put what we can plan for the student to do in alternative towards what the rest of the class is doing. Teacher for support activities. For instance, we can have a teacher for support activities, I don't know, 5 years, 8 years per week. Of course, this teacher will be present also only in specific timing. This is the reason why it is important to complete this first part of the timetable. Maybe we need the resources for hygiene and basic care. This is due for students with disabilities. Professional resources and communication assistance, other assistance. All this table is done in order to have the opportunity to share what the inclusion team defined for this specific student with all the teachers, also new teachers. For instance, I arrive this first year, for the very first year in my school, and I do not have to ask everybody what is going on with this specific student and what we can do for him or her. No, we can simply check some scheme like this one, some document, and we can find in this document all the information that we need. Then maybe we have extracurricular interventions for if we have some, they can be towards something which is related to the health of the students or something which is related to one of the dimensions that we analyzed before. And then this very last part of the document is the certification of competencies. At the end of all the path, what are the competencies that the student achieved? We can make a difference on that. We have basic skills that must be achieved. These basic skills is the basic level that we want to put as the first goal at the end of the school. Then we can have different levels, and for this reason we can define them in order to give us the student a specific idea of what he or she has achieved. and to give the student also the opportunity to check whether to go on with some different level of education. We all know that, for instance, students with dyslexia can have a very high QI. They can be very clever, and furthermore, they notice the difficulties that they have achieving basic skills that are very easy for other students, less clever as they are. So if we can give them some key to go on with higher education, we can give them the opportunity to better them their self-esteem, and to check the opportunity to better their school level. The last part is not for the student, is for the school. Inside this last part is not, we have to put some suggestions. Exactly when we are working with the students, we notice that there is something that we should do, that we could do if we had the specific resources in order to consider a specific need. Well, it is very important to put this suggestion inside the document, because we could have the opportunity to choose uh, to to uh, insert some specific tools inside the school, and this is a way to check whether they are the correct ones, whether it is exactly what we need, whether it is a way to have tools to make a comparison, a qualification, a choice also, especially if the resources are not too many and we have to point the attention on a specific thing. Okay. So after watching the model, I would like to use a specific case, a specific situation, in order to see from the diagnosis of the medication what we define for this specific student. This is a real one. Of course, I unleave all the information about the name and about the situation, but you can consider that like a real example. This is a student of a secondary school, a bad school. So the difficulties are on written expression, okay? So you have dysgraphia, and you have also some specific arithmetic ability disorder, while the reading is within the norm and the reading comprehension is sufficient. This is the text that the medician wrote. The tests that investigate spelling competence are generally within the norm. From a qualitative analysis, there are still some uncertainties in the correct writing of non-homographic homophonic words, although not to a clinical significant extent. Practical evidence in various evaluations had shown weaknesses. The difficulties in controlling the graphic line also affect the performance of all tasks in which a certain graphic precision is required, for instance, technical drawing. So if you see this information, you have to work as a school to find a way to adapt the didactical tools in order to give the student the opportunity to achieve the basic skills and also a better level of skills in technical drawing without drawing on hand, of course. Let's see what the medicians say about the calculation. Compared to the calculation, the student shows more clinically significant faults, in some cases of correctness, while in other of executive speed. So when we talk about calculation, we need to have a certain speed, we need to have a precision. If the medicine says that there are difficulties in both these situations, we have to adapt our didactical way in order to go over these difficulties. There is evidence of correct but slow processing in the task of transcoding numbers, retrieval of numerical facts. We do not have this information only during maths, but for instance, also in many technical subjects in which we use numerical facts. We have to transcode numbers. So this is not only a problem for the math teacher. It is a question that have to be known and analyzed, but all the teachers that use numbers has a part of the specific language of the subject. We also have some cognitive information. We have some information on QI. You see that these students, for instance, have different levels of QI. There is a total, and then you have a partial. Visual perceptual reasoning is 82, which is much lower, for instance, of working memory. So you have a total of 92, but this 92 is due to different parts. We do not have to, well, this is something that the specific, the expert gives us. We have to know what this number means and to do something towards the individualized path. So inside the diagnosis, we also have some proposal and suggestions for intervention. In written papers, allow additional time to allow for greater spell checking. It is suggested to encourage, support, and allow the use of compensatory tools, for instance, word processing, to support the difficulties in graphic design, since they are tools that the child has already used in the school context. If necessary, reduce all those activities that require scoping, taking long notes. That was, for instance, what I suggested in before. I write my blackboard, and then the student has not to take notes, but he can, for instance, make a picture of the blackboard. No long notes, no difficulties in writing, in copying, but the same result in having the content that we try to give him or her. Not penalizing the written productions for a form, but enhancing the content. We have written productions in quite all subjects. So this is not only a question for the English teacher. This is a question for all the teachers that have to consider an error in the form, not like they note it for the other students, starting from this certification. If necessary, provide more time in taking tests that require writing or reduce quantitatively the task assigned, as I told you before. Consider that a lack of affirmation of graph or motor gesture determines an easy fatigability that can also affect spelling correctness. The difficulty in is writing. After a small period, the student is not able to write anymore. This is a problem, for instance, when we have to write a composition, because the composition is written in a quite a long time, not in a small time. So, for instance, we can try to do that on different timing, giving some moment to have a stop. In foreign languages, identify objectives and achievement assessment methods readable, but it is not required to take the written test. With regard to writing, it is possible to use compensatory tools such as the computer with automatic correct and with a digital dictionary. We have some suggestions. Of course, the medician, the psychologist, underlined that it is very important to support self-esteem, to give the student the idea of his the achievement of upper levels, starting from the initial point. So, starting from this diagnosis, what do we have as an individual learning path? This is a real one. This is my school. Of course, you have the general data of the student. You have the diagnosis synthesis, starting from what is written in the medician document. What does the team of inclusion wrote about the student and the family. It is clear from the diagnosis that the student has difficulty in writing. These difficulties in controlling the graphic line also affect the performance of tasks in which a certain graphic precision is required. The student has also difficulties in calculation, especially in carrying out calculation in his head. There was also evidence of difficulty with auditory attention. During the interview with the class coordinator, the student did not add any additional element to report in addition to that had already been noted. So you do not have always to write something that is completely new. You use this model exactly for what you can notice or from what you can observe. If necessary, the student reserves the right to promptly communicate to the class coordinator any further useful element to update his or her personalized teaching plan. Okay, so then you find some checklists that were thought to be more quick to complete, also because if you have many students in this situation, you need to have tools that are effective and easy to use. Has no marks on each of these situations. Collaborate with peers, collaborate with adults, motivation to study, availability for activities, compliance with the rules. And you can say yes, no, partly, and say so and write some notes. Then, starting from the direct observation of the tutors, you can check this scheme on each of the skill that you use inside the school. In our school, we decided to give the responsibility of this checking to the Italian language and literature teacher. That's to be your English language and literature teacher. Why? Because he or she is the one that has the wider time, the higher number of hours to make this observation. And so it is easier for him, her, to be more objective because he has a longer opportunity, a wider opportunity of observation. So velocity, sweetness, correctness, comprehension. You have some opportunity. If it is okay, you do not check anything. For instance, adequate, nothing to check. Inadequate, to check. Same thing about writing. You can observe in a different way handwriting and production. Handwriting, you see simply how the student writes, how is the sign. You can read the sign, you can read so the right is a stroke or very light or uncertain. You can check and define one of these situation, one or more of these situations. Then you think about production. This has much more to deal with the neurological reference of the student. Adherence to delivery, morphosyntactic correctness, spelling correctness, punctual usage, correct, partially correct, incorrect. About calculation, of course, we ask the teacher of mathematics to observe and check this part of the individual path. But it is always for a question of timing, not because the result is only on his or her responsibility and the other can do what they prefer. It is only a question of timing. Retrieval of numerical facts, algorithmic automation procedural, use of algorithms in calculation, understanding the text of a problem. So you still have something which is very, that should be very automatic on this age of the student, and something that is more related to the use of the number as a fact to for a problem solving. Then you have many other parameters. You see data collected by teachers and summarized by the class coordinator. So every teacher has the task to complete this specific table for each student with the special educational needs. The student shows difficulty in memorizing formulas, algorithmics, grammatical structures, names, dates. Categorization, sequences and procedures, nothing to report. It is important that every teacher does this check, because in some subjects, some of the things that we want to check are more evidenced than in others. For instance, I'm thinking about GIM. In GIM, you have sequences and procedures because you have to follow an instruction and do it with your body. So, for instance, it is more easy to understand whether it is easier for a student to memorize a sequence also in something which is very practical, exactly as it is in the laboratory when we ask the student to follow a procedure to use a device. Fatigability. We would like to know whether the student shows to be fatigued. It is not normal unless we have a very hard work to do in class. For instance, 2 hours mathematic work to prepare. But normally we have students that has to show a normal fatigue. When we see that there is something that is very different from the other, then we can check the box. Then about hyperactivity, we know that we can have 2 different situations: hyperactivity or deficit of hyperactivity. We should try to understand whether the intensity of a specific work gives the student a difficulty to be in class with a adequate, sufficient level of attention. We have to notice that because it is very important for the timing. If we understand that the timing of attention is very short, it is important to try something to give the student the opportunity to restart, to reproduce his attention in order to follow the rest of the situation. We can say something similar, except that the instruments are different. If we have somebody that is too active, difficulty in sitting, difficulty in staying behavior in a composed way for a long time, difficulty in maintaining silent in class, difficulty continuous interrupting the teacher when you are trying to explain something, or when somebody is talking to the teacher. Then there is the whole world of the practices. Here you have a very large examples. The idea is to cover all the subjects in school. Of course, this is only a model, and you can adapt it to your reality in order to find exactly the practices that you can observe in your school. Then you find the dispensation measures. You can have different instruments, as we said last time. Something that is a compensation and something that is a dispensation. If it is a dispensation, you unleave the situation, while if it is a compensation, you try to find something that can balance, not to be equal, but to be equivalent. In this first table, you have the exemption measures. For instance, for this specific student, you can avoid reading aloud in Italian and history. And this is an example of exemption. It is a dispensation. You also have that in technical procedures and in civic education. You do not have in the others, because in the others you do not use to do that as an exercise at school. Then another one is avoid reading passages on their own whose length is not compatible with the student's reading skill level. Why do you have then them only in technical procedures? Because in this situation, the reading of the passages is one of the tasks that is normal for this subject. So what can you do if you don't do that? The student can listen to the others. He doesn't do the reading on his own. He can listen to other students reading. Avoid evaluating the correctness of the writing. As you see, you do not have only Italian as a mother tongue, but you also have computer design, history, and English, and also education, civic education. All these subjects use writing, text writing, in order to check the acquisition of skills of the students. You can do it, yes, of course. You can use writing, but you avoid the evaluation of correctness. You consider that the correctness is not due. You can allow more time. Not in all subjects, as you see, because if you do not have any difficulties in mathematics, you do not use it in all in these subjects, and you try to adapt the timing to the real situation of the students, and going on with the time, if it is possible, to align it. If we notice that the student is becoming speeder, we can reduce the timing. In classroom exercises and homework, reduce the number of exercises if necessary without changing the objectives, as an alternative to allowing more time, to allowing more time. For instance, you do not have more time. You only have 1 hour to to have the students to complete the sequence of the math exercise or the exercises that you prepared. So you cannot give him or her more time. What you can do is to reduce the number of the exercises in order to give him or her the opportunity to finish, maintaining the difficulties of the complex. Limit a purely mnemonic study of information due to the difficulty in remembering names, technician terms, definitions. For this specific student, you have this method, these didactical methods for many subjects. So what can you do? Of course, if you need, I don't know, in history to remember some data, you can use an empty scheme only with the data and ask the student to reason about the situation and to put the situation on the data that you already define for him or her. So let's go on. Compensatory instruments. The student can take advantage of. So he or she can take advantage. It is not compulsory. It is something that is helpful. It is something that can be inclusive. So we can use for all students, which is maybe easier for us, instead of preparing the form, diagram, concept maps only for the student. The very important thing is that if this form standard graph, diagram or concept is created by the student, it has to be approved by the teacher. It is not the writing of all the concept. It must be only a path in which the student keeps the reasoning about the subject without writing everything. This is the reason why we have to approve the map before the concept map, before it is used. This is something also that we have to consider. For instance, we have an evaluation in class. The student has to send us or to give us the concept map at least 2 days before the date of the exercise in class. So we have the time to have a look at it and say, okay, it's okay, or no, you have to do it again, or you have to unleave these things in order to use it in class. Audio resources. We have more and more digital books or audio books. Some auditor have already prepared this situation. Another opportunity is to use some softwares that are disposable on the internet in order to have the writing test written by the device. Recorder, by agreement with the teacher, has a support, not as a substitute for taking notes. The student can do both. He tried to take notes, and then at the same time, he made a recording of the lesson. In this way, we can check the correctness of taking notes by the student, but we can also give him or her a second chance to listen to us when he or she will be at home. Tablet camera, of course, you need a tablet camera if you have it. Also for that, it is important to have to make an agreement with the teacher to state if in this situation it is important to have it or not. Computer, tablet with the word processor and spell checker. If you have a computer, you can use the dictation, which is one of the instruments that is present on, for instance, Word, Microsoft Word, but also in many other writing software. Calculator, of course, table of measurements, or geometric formulas. This is something which is very difficult to remember for students that have special educational needs. Sometimes they are really, it is really hard for them to remember formulas. Well, we can check if we can prepare some exercises not only for this specific student but for all the students, in which it is not so important to remember the formula, but it is very important to have the ability to reason on the problem solving to achieve the result. And then, last but not least, a table for evaluation. This is one of the hardest things for us a teacher, especially when we have special educational needs student, because it is difficult to stay in the objective line to define whether to evaluate exactly like the other students, or to have something specific, and to have some specific in a way that is not too hard, but not too light, not too easy for the student. So first opportunity, set the dates of the oral and written tests, agreeing on the topics in advance. This is a way to give the student the opportunity to organize himself in a better way. Allow the use of compensatory tools and didactic mediators, computers, speed synthesis, something like that, in written and oral test. So we are talking about, for instance, maps, graphics, schemes, something like that, that we state in the previous box. Evaluate mainly the context, knowledge and skills of synthesis, analysis, and connection with respect to the formal and or mnemonic aspects. Sometimes it is very difficult, especially in some subjects, to use this lighter way to of evaluation, because the formal aspect is a part of a subject, of course. So you see that not in all subjects this opportunity is possible. For instance, it is not possible in mathematics and in theory of information, informatic theory, because in this case you have the necessity to understand whether the student achieved exactly the formal aspect of the skill. So maybe in this situation you can use a different way of evaluation. That's to say, for instance, agreeing the date of the written test to give the opportunity to the student to use the short memory and not the last long in memory. Agree with the student on oral test to accompany or supplement the written test. If the student has difficulties in dysgraphia or dysorthography, the opportunity is to change the written examination with the oral examination, and to consider that as the written note. Schedule longer time for the execution of test, to be agreed from time to time with the teacher, and in any case approximately to the extent of 30% more than the duration of the test. So we have a test of half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, as an opportunity to have the time to read, have the time to write, have the time to reflect, to do the reasoning part of the task, starting from the maps. And last of it, reduce the number of exercises in the test as an alternative to granting longer time. This part can be applicable, in this case not applicable during the state exam. in Italy, we have state examination at the end of each period of school. So you have at the end of the primary school, sorry, at the end of the secondary school of the first grade, and the end of vet school, and the end of secondary school. So I would like to say whether there is some question about this first part. I hope it will be useful for you, the showing of a specific example of a specific student, because in this case you can see how to use the scheme, the information in a practical way with your students. Do you have any question for me? Please, Philip, I give you the floor. Mr. Boama, I give you the floor.
Sorry. Okay. Thank you very much. Please, I wanted to find out from Miss Maria, when you were making your submissions, I overheard you talk about assessment or assessing behaviors of learners, and I wanted to inquire that how do you assess it? How do you assess the behavior of learners? Is it by using a checklist, or is it by assessment by written, or if you can help me on that? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I go again to the scheme, so maybe it is useful for us to follow the list in order to find some example specific on each point. So starting from this very short scheme, this is a short checklist which is based on observation. Collaborate with peers, yes, no, partially remarks. So in this case, each teacher can check whether during teamwork, doing something that has to be completed with the classmate, there is collaboration between them. So they are talk about the goal to achieve. They talk about the way every of two make a part of the complete work that has to be presented to us. And this is the first way to check. And here in the remarks, we can say partially, for instance, and to write the student not always collaborate with the classmate. He stay in silence waiting that the other finishes the task. He not always gives some suggestions to achieve the goal. And this is an example. Then collaborate with adults. Maybe also in this case, we can say partly. Sometimes the student does not give the mental maps on time before the school exercise. Maybe motivation to study is okay. Availability for activities, no. The student never propose himself to be part of teams or to make specific task on free days. Okay, and maybe compliance with rules is yes. So this is a checklist, but the most important thing are not the check on the yes or no partially, but what we write on the remarks. I hope that I gave you a good explanation. If no, I'm ready to add.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you very much. It's really understood. That is what I wanted to be sure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So, Ibrahim, please, I give you the floor.
All right, thank you, Madam Maria. I've really enjoyed your lesson today.
Thank you.
Mine has to do with you said something about student with low IQ during your presentation. You said something about student with low IQ.
Low IQ.
Yeah.
What shall we do with students with
Yeah,
low IQ?
you you said some people during assessment, if a task is given to them, some of them can perform it nicely and produce the component well, but others cannot do so, but they can put it in a form of a drawing. I don't know whether what I'm saying you are getting it. Maybe you have to perform a product by those students who are not actively cannot do so, but they can put it on a paper in a form of a drawing just to represent the original assessment or product you, the teacher, want the student to achieve. Am I right? Or I didn't hear you well.
So when we have students with
Mm-hmm.
very low IQ,
Yes, please.
we have to define for them
Okay.
some very basic tasks in order
Okay.
to give them the opportunity to be part of the class and to feel to not to low their self-esteem that sometimes is already not very high. So it is very important for us, for instance, to make them watch the other and giving them information to better, or watching the other describing what the other is doing, or be an assistant of a good student. We can the very important thing is not to leave them on a corner, in a corner, just without doing anything, but to find in any case something for them, and telling them that what they are doing is important as exactly as what the other do, because in every task there are easy things to do and hard things to do, and but the person that is doing the hardest task cannot do at the same time also the easiest one, so their role is important exactly as the other one. See, it's something
I
that has to start from us. It is difficult, I know. It is not so easy, but the fact is to be prepared to include them, finding what they can do in a good way, in order to also to give them the fact that they can achieve a result. No, for instance, not a difficult one, but maybe a quicker one. So something easy but repeated. Oh, that's very good of you. You have done 10 of this. Next time, 11 of this.
I get it now. I get it.
Some,
Well understood. Thank you.
I give you some suggestions at least. Okay, so I propose you to have a short stop by now, and then when we meet again, I have another a short presentation, always about individualized learning path. In this case, not for special educational needs, but for all the students. And then the last part of our meeting will be about the presentation of the project work. So we can talk about it, and later I will send you in the folder all the material that you need to go through the project work. We will meet on the 21 of November, 21st of November, at 5 p.m. Not at the usual time, but at 5 p.m. for 3 hours. So I will repeat that also later. So I propose you to stop for a quarter of hour, and to meet again at 4:30, if it is okay for you. Please, Mr. Boama, do you have any question for me?
Yes. Sorry for asking this question for the second time, and I just wanted to clear off this burden before we go on the break. It is just a follow-up question to what Mr. Ibrahim asked. That, and then another contribution to his own. So the contribution to his own was that we know that all learners can achieve, but then not at the same day, and then the same way. Yeah. So there are different ways learners can use to achieve. And then based on this, I wanted to find out from you that during assessment instrument development, sometimes some of the questions are a little bit ambiguous, making students, with diverse understanding of the question. So for instance, if a learner or if a question is telling the learners to maybe answer a question or produce an evidence, a correct evidence without a procedure, and maybe student A uses a first procedure to produce the answer, and student B use a second procedure to produce the answer. In this instance, um, are you going to accept are you going to judge the assessment based on the procedures, or based on the final evidence? Thank you.
Of course, we can accept it. This the proposal that I say to you is something that can be, of course, personalized by your specific didactical methods, by your specific subject, because sometimes well, you are the best person to match, to bridge from the proposal that I am doing to you to what you can really objective do in your class. I'm sure that when I'm speaking about the assessment, about the differences of approaches, you immediately think something that is practical for you, and I did not say in my speech, which is absolutely normal, because we are by now 28, and except me and Benedetta, all of you are in different classes and different situations, and teach different subjects. You can for sure use your suggestion, and I thank you very much, because what you say could be for sure useful also for the teachers that are here inside in this call right now. So thank you, Phillips. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's go for a break, and we will meet again at about 4:35. It's okay for you? See you
Sure.
in
I
a
think
quarter
it's
of
okay.
hour, more or less. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.
ó mọ̀ ọ́ tí máa ṣe ń bọ̀ tàbá ẹ̀ tí dátà kú báyìí náà lọ nìyẹn. ìrìtẹ́lẹ̀ ní kájú pé.
So here I am again for you. Let's start with the second part of our today's meeting. I will show you my presentation for a small part of theory about the individualized learning path. So last time we talked about individualized didactical plan for students with special educational needs. In this part, we are talking about general path. These paths are of course valid also for students with special educational needs, but more generally are for everybody because they are long-term path. It is a development trajectory. It is something that we state in order to achieve long-term personal goals. It is something that we define for all the students. Why? Because it starts from the talents. This is the very first thing we talk about. Competencies, personal competencies, soft skills, hard skills, something that the student has and can develop thanks to the school training, thanks to life experiences, thanks to lifelong learnings. So the passage from the talents, something which is very as a small diamond inside the student, and something that thanks to the online learning can become a real skill that can be used by the young person, the adult person, as a skill in his work, of course, in his life, in his relationships. I choose for you this personal learning framework, which was prepared by the two authors, Taylor and Nagel, in 2015. That I try, I think it is interesting and can be easy to use also with students. So I propose it as an operative framework in order to start from the talent of the student. So the first part is to analyze the identity of the student, asking, of course, on his or her level, to the following questions. Who am I? How do I fit into the community? What are my principles and values? What are my goals? Of course, we have to help the student to understand what is a community and what is their community. What is the difference between principles and values? What are possible values and how can they define them? And what are possible goals related to working life, to personal life, to relations? This is quite a philosophical way to start from the talent. This is something that we have to do as a school because our main principle is the education. So education comes from a Latin term which is educere, coming out, bringing something out of something. So I can educate a student only starting from knowing his identity, and only starting from the fact that he has the opportunity to watch into himself, herself, and to better understand what his identity is, and how to identify his talent. Then the second part, growth and reflection, make a point on different situations in which the identity is played. What evidence demonstrates my growth as a student, citizen, and community member? So not only my age, of course, but the way I behave. It is important to drive the students, to lead the students to understand that evidences are more easy to be seen than they think. Maybe for them it is easier to see something which is related to the relation between pairs. We can lead them to understand other evidences in order to demonstrate their ability in being a citizen. How can I achieve my goals? Here we have to make another very important exercise to make the students comprehend the difference between a goal, a general goal, an aim, and an objective. How to go through from something that they think that should be interesting to achieve, or good to achieve, or important to achieve, from something that is defined in a systematic way, in a even in a quantitative way, in a with a timing, so that they can check whether the quantitative and not only the qualitative way is achieved at the end of the time that they define as the good time to achieve the goal. What habits of mind are helping me to succeed? This is the very important question about the situation in which I have more likely to be in the good condition to achieve my goals. At school, from the very beginning, at home, with the others, starting from very easy. For instance, a good habit of mind that helped me to succeed in my school goals is to be interested in lessons, to keep notes, to be active in classroom, to be motivated to achieve the skills that the teacher is proposing me. How am I changing? Reflecting on the differences, on specific differences, for instance, during the different years of frequency at school. reflecting on the specific skills that the student is able to propose, to make in practice in a simulation at school, or maybe during the company experience. How do I address my strengths and challenges? It is important to comprehend the difference between goals and challenges. What is challenging for me? For instance, I'm a shy person. So, for instance, my challenge is to be able to express myself during my school life. Or maybe I'm a very energetic and hyperactive student. So the difficulty is for me to stay calm, to stay attentive, to concentrate myself on what I am doing. Growth mindset, brain development. We can talk about that to the students to make them understand that our mind has a very incredible, I should say, opportunities to grow, to develop. And what we can achieve is much less than what we could achieve. So the opportunity for them to understand that right now, while they are young, while it is easiest for them to achieve new information, new skills, new abilities, it is something that they have to take advantage and to try to develop in the best way. And then the next step for the first part of the talent is transformation. Why I am ready for the next step. This is about the motivation. What is the motivation? We come back to the values, of course. We come back to the principles. And so I am ready now to motivate because I feel skilled and enough in order to try try this new experience inside the company. I think that I'm skilled enough to prepare myself for my work life in order to earn. How have I transported to succeed in my next learning or life stage? This is maybe the most challenging question for the students. It is easiest for us because we look back to our life and we can notice the steps and how do we change from one situation to the other. What was the push in order to have this new situation? For the students, it is more difficult because they are young. So this is the reason why we have to help them in order to give them ideas, maybe starting from what we can, our experience, the experience of people that we know that have made a good transformation, for giving them the security to be able to go on, to achieve a new situation in their life. So because we are inside the school, starting from this first inquiry, from this first assessment of the talents, we can define a school path and a work-based learning path, always to go towards wider skills. It is learning to become, it is learning to be seen, and it is a specification of the first path that I show you of the lifelong learning, about which I think we all are aware, absolutely, because we continue to study and to learn, and the fact that you are here in call with me is the absolute assurance that we believe in this role. So the structure of an individualized learning path. It is very similar from the one that we saw at the beginning. We start from a learning objective. We start from a learning objective which is specific of our subject, or is specific for to be achieved by the WBL. We transform this learning objective in actions. So, for instance, we say that the learning objective is technical drawing, reading technical drawing. We transform that in actions. During school lessons, we will propose to the student technical drawing. We will propose them to read symbols, to read lines, to read numbers, to read situations that they find in technical drawing, in order to understand the reason for which this drawing is done in that specific way, what is the signification of each sign that we find in the drawing, and who is it for, and how and why is it for. So the aim of the drawing, and the persons, the workers, maybe the future workers that the student could become, in order to give the students a full information of the skills that they are achieving. Criteria for success. Here we have all the information about the assessment. So the criteria for success for this specific example is the ability of the student to read, not only to read the technical drawing, but to understand what is the result that we want to achieve, and what are the critical points that we have to check, and how these critical points are defined inside the technical drawing. We have to define a target date. We should say, for instance, that this learning objective has to be achieved by the end of the school year, or by the end of the stage of the experience inside the company. And then we define the date in which we really complete the learning object. It can be the time that we targeted, it can be prior, it can be after, because maybe there is something to add, something to explain more, some experiences that were not done in the complete way. In this way, we can come to the next learning objective. As we state for the individualized didactical plan, we have some actors that can plan, write, and share the individualized learning path. The first very important, I should say, protagonist is the co-teaching team or class council. Because we are talking about something that is defined inside the school, the first role of definition of the learning path is related to the ability of the co-teaching team to define learning objectives referring to the specific subjects that are taught inside the school. The ability to link these subjects, because more and more in the work world, the skills have to be linked all together. So because the skills are a consequence of the acquisition and practical of subjects, we have to try to find these links before teaching, before giving the student the ability and the competencies in each of our subjects. It is very important because if we don't, we leave to the student the responsibility to find the links. And they will discover that when they will be inside the company. They will discover that if they have a mechanical specialization, they also need, for instance, some electrical one, because the work of word needs the two skills linked. But we do not have this way to teach inside the school. Each of us try to develop at best his or her specific subject. So the work has to be done in advance in order to know that at a certain point the two subjects will be linked together, and this is for the better preparation of the student. If we define the skill, we have to define also the learning outcomes, which is the objective way in which we can observe the skill in the school, at school. These learning objects have to be defined, have to be observable, have to be valuable. Then we can define for each skill, and by consequence for each learning outcome, a step of progress, a level of achievement. Starting from the question of your colleague, if we have students with different abilities, starting abilities inside our class, it can happen. Of course, it can happen, and maybe we can see that every day. It is important to be able to give a basic level of achievement to the students. For them, this is the best that they can do, but also to give the opportunity to the best students to achieve a higher degree. This is a real challenge for us as a school, because it's supposed to be able to understand the different needs, understand what the students can achieve, understand to give them a task which is suitable for his or her personal development. Maybe it is only a question of age, maybe it is something that is more important, that we cannot solve only by the going on of years of the student inside our class. The co-teaching team can drive each student to achieve, sorry, there is a mistake in the slide, specific goals linking to learning outcomes starting from the student's talents. So we come back to the second row. We come back to the fact that we have to start from what the student can is and what it can become, thanks to the fact that we give him or her a path, a school path, a way to develop, not only as a worker, but surely, for sure, as a person. In some school, there is the school counselor. The school counselor has a very important role. He can define talents, and he can plan goals for the students. Why? This role is very important because the school counselor normally works with students on a one-to-one basis. This makes easier for the student to remove barriers in relationship, in school achievement, in he or she feels more free to explain, to open his own emotional world, in order to give the opportunity to the school counselor to make him or her the right question about the talent. In this way, the school counselor can be a guide inside the school for giving the students, and also for giving all the teaching present at school, an information which is useful for the development of that specific student, but also for the development of the whole class. Then, if we have the opportunity to have dual systems, or internship, or stages, or other opportunities to stay inside the companies to practice a specific job in order to achieve more competencies about it, we have a training project manager, a WBL training project manager. This training project manager is a person that can co-teach and co-plan the path inside the company. He is a person that can elaborate the individual training plan and project inside the company. It is very important for him or her to be in continuous relationship with the teachers, with the school, and with the company, in order to check whether the student is really achieving the skills that are the goals of the experience. He has to customize the goals, of course. If each student has different talents, of course, the path inside the company has to be adapted to the student, starting from the point that there is a specific job, a specific job description, and then we have to try to adapt what the school gives to the student, what the student is, his talent, and what the company asks for that specific role. We talk about this very important role, the school tutor. The school tutor is the person that has the role to be side by side to the student, to assist the student, to monitor the work, to validate what the student is achieving, is learning inside the company. It is important to align the specific goals, because we cannot ask the company to be completely aware of what we are giving to the student at school. It is quite impossible, because the idea in this case should be that the school and the company are always in contact and know exactly the activity of each other. This idea is quite rare, I should say. So for this reason, we need to have somebody who is the bridge between the two realities, somebody who can communicate what are the progresses, that can monitor, that can check, that can help both realities, both situations, the student situation and the company situation, to find themselves in order to have the opportunity to prepare the student for his or her future work life. Then the company tutor is somebody that is more a technical and a professional reference. He is the person that can assure the transmission of the technical skills to the student. It can have a very important role of orientation. It can give the student the clear idea of the importance of the work, of the job, of the work in general, and of the job in specific. And then we have the student. We have to be sure to have, sorry, his or her commitment. This is the reason why the starting point is the definition of talent, because if we start from this analysis, we can try to better understand how to go from these talents to the skills through the learning objects. For instance, the talent is, I am a very precise person. How can we use this precision inside the company? And what are the skills that we need to give to the student in order to transform a talent of precision in a work skill? And I guess each of you is thinking to his or her specific subject, thinking about what is the part of precision that can be transformed in a learning objective. After that, we have planned everything. We have to use some methodologies of observation and verification of what is going on. Philip, I see you have a question for me. Please, I give you the floor.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Before I forget, I want to be sure of something you just mentioned of about the companies being aware of whatever content the institutions are giving to learners or students. So in this case, does it mean that during the curriculum development, the companies are to be factored, or we have to the institutions together with the bodies who actually develop curriculum should factor the companies, what the companies too are expected of institutions to give to learners or students in their curriculum development? Is that so? That's my question. I want to be sure. Thank you.
Okay. So I make an example. So maybe I can better communicate and be sure that that we can share this situation. Usually, when the students have the opportunity to have a company experience, they choose the company because of the sector. For instance, the energy, they go to somebody that has the opportunity to go inside inside companies for the energy sector, photovoltaic, aeolic energy. Well, the difficulty is to find the right level. So, is it possible to put the student inside the technical office to use softwares? Well, it depends. We have to be sure that the student is able to use the softwares or something that is similar. Or on the contrary, is it possible to put the student in a building that is in construction and to put to have the student to check the lines, to use devices? It depends. So why these questions? Because the company doesn't know exactly what the school is doing. We have to talk to the company tutor. The school tutor and the company tutor must be in contact, specifically not only for the talent of the student, to understand who is the student, how he works, something about his or her personality, but also about the skills that he has or that he doesn't have, simply because it is not the part of our school path. Company usually doesn't know what we do at school. We have to check, we have to understand whether they have quickly and clearly understood what the student can do, starting from the school path. Did I answer to your question, Philip?
Okay, it's I didn't really get what I wanted to hear, whether they have to, but then you stated that it depends on the situation or the environment, because in CBT curriculum development, for now, for here in Ghana, what I know is of late, institutions or the committee or the commission who is in charge of the curriculum development, now they really factor what actually the institutions are also required of the training providers, so that after students have left from the institutions, they can fit in exactly in what the companies are expected, so that it wouldn't be like students will graduate from institutions and now companies have to hire them and then give them another training before they can work with them. That is what I wanted to be sure of. Thank you.
I guess that it is different in every country. It is something I would say quite cultural. I again, I make you an example starting from the reality that I observe when I deal with the company experience. There are very small companies in which the company tutor has really to be lead, to be introduced to the school, even maybe he had no school preparation. He is a very practical person, practical worker. So what he wants to know is what the student is able to do. As we know, the student is able to do what we taught to him in a simulation, in simulation in the laboratory, which is not exactly like in the real work world. On the other side, we have a very very big companies, and these big companies have human resources department, and usually the human resources department has a job description of each role. So we can, it is easiest because we can understand each other simply by checking the job description. This is okay, this not. The student can do that. This is not, he will learn this specific task next year, for instance. So it is difficult to me to make a general information about that. What I can say to all of you is that you have to check, because we cannot assume that the company knows exactly the competencies that the student already have or not.
Oh, okay. Very well.
Thank you, Philip. So let's go to the last part of my presentation. Methodologies, of observation and verification. So what we have to do, starting from planning the WBL experience. We meet and we make an individual meeting with the student, and the training project manager. Sometimes they are the same person, sometimes they are different persons. It depends from the school, I guess. This meeting are necessary in order to have the commitment of the student, which is the very basis of the experience. And then to be sure that the student has a clear idea of the expectation from the company, starting from the timetable, starting from the wearing, starting from the way to behave, starting from this respect of company rules. Then after that, we prepare, following the modules that we saw on the second lesson, the starting part of the experience. We prepare the learning plan. We go through it with the company tutor, and then the experience begins. Then what is going on during the WBL training? The second point of monitoring. The school tutor makes a regular monitoring of the activities during the working hours. So it is supposed that he or she goes to the company on an appointment, of course, to check the situation, to speak with the company tutor, to speak with the students in order to understand if everything is going okay. And he uses a checklist that we saw on the second lesson, which is inside your documents. The company tutor, on his part, has to direct the activities of the students, starting from the first day in which he or she I can't remember the name in English, sorry. Say hello to the student. He gives him or her information about spaces, about colleagues, about where to have the lunch, when to change the dressing if it is needed, or the shoes, the safe shoes.
That is the orientation stage I guess you are talking about.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, I think what you wanted to talk about or address has to do with the orientation stage or induction stage of students. So that is when you address all those concerns. During the orientation stage, you address you give them the directions to some of these informations that you are talking about.
Exactly. Exactly. So another very important thing that the company tutor has to do is to check the work that the student is doing, to give him or her feedbacks on the improvement of the result. Very important, both positive and non-positive feedback. In this second case, with the opportunity to understand what is going wrong and how to better the work. It is always something which is didactical. It is not intended to be a job. It is intended to be an opportunity to learn. So he has to keep in mind the objectives objectives that the experience has to achieve. For this reason, the company tutor and the school tutor has to keep in contact to have a good result of the experience. Then another important point for monitoring is after the experience. Well, the first one to be checked is the student feedback. It is important to have a questionnaire. Why? Because we can check whether the experience altogether was a good experience and whether it gives the student the opportunity to achieve the goals that were stated at the beginning. We can use this information also to understand whether it is important to bring the skills that the student learned inside the company to the school and vice versa. There, it is supposed to be a difference between the two. We don't know at the beginning what this difference is or what it will be, because it can vary on the specific student, assuming that the talents are different. So we have to check by a questionnaire, by a specific question, what the student learned during the company period. Then we have to check whether the company tutor and the school tutor were available during the internship. What do we mean by available? It doesn't mean that the tutor is always there for the student, of course, but he has to be there in case of need. He has to be there in case of questions to which the student is not able to understand. He has to be there in case of problems. For instance, a delay, for instance, illness, for instance, an error also that has to be used as a way to understand what is the responsibility of a person, of a working person, and what the working person has to do in order not to repeat this error. And then after that, we have to understand the usefulness of the internship. In terms of usability of the work of word, of work, sorry. Okay. I made a change. Why? Because maybe something that the student learned inside this specific company can have a wider usage, a wider use inside many other companies. Or it can be something that is very specific. In both cases, it is useful to know, because we can understand which is the opportunity to go inside this company and to go on with the internship of our students. Maybe we can also use this information for future internship or traineeships. Maybe at the end of the school, the student can stay inside the company for a longer period with a contract. So this could be very useful, of course, for the student, and also useful for us, because we know that we are building real opportunities. we are making a path which is good for giving a concrete chance of work to our students. We also give a questionnaire to the company tutor. In this case, what we want to check? We want to check the student's soft skills. How was the student during teamwork? What were his or her communication skills? Was he or she good in problem solving? We had an assessment of this situation at the very beginning of the stage. And then we can check whether the working situation, the internship, was an opportunity to better one or more of these soft skills. Then another very important thing is to verify whether the technical skills that we give to the student at school are adequate in respect of what the company needs. I say that this is a very good and important challenge for the school. It is very a real way to keep in touch with the reality, to know exactly what we need to do to the students. I give you an example. We as Italian have sometimes some difficulties in learning English for different motivations. The sounds are different, grammatic is completely different. It is not so easy to pass from Italian language to English language. At a certain point, companies started to tell us that all the technical manuals were in English. There wasn't an opportunity to have them in Italian because all technical companies used English like a bridge language. So this was a way to start to teach the students not only general reading, but technical reading, starting from technical manuals. We learned that, knowing that from the companies in which the students went to go for an internship. They told us sometimes students have difficulties in understanding technical manuals. Why? Well, because they are in English. Oh, we have to solve that. Then another important thing to check with the company tutor are the acquired skills, what the soft and technical skills, starting from that we state to be important, to be the goals of the project. And then we have to check whether the student was committed and responsible during the internship, whether he started to understand how is a professional behavior, what is the difference between being a student and being a worker. This is something that is a change that has to come inside the student, and then we go back to the questions that we gave to the student, checking his or her talents. Okay, so Do you have any question for me about this last part of presentation?
Hello, Maria Gathi. Can you hear me?
Yes, Top, I hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, I don't have any question really. I just want to commend you very, very much for the effort you have used to learn English and for trying to give this class. I really give kudos to you because I can imagine it's not easy. I learned Spanish and it took me years to be able to learn Spanish. So you learning English from Italian and really trying to communicate it, I give it to you. You have a very, very strong effort. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Really.
Continue your good job.
Thank you. So the last part of today's meeting is about the project work. I'm sure you know that after the first part of lesson, I will propose you a project work, which is something practical to try to put in a practical way what we saw during these hours together. Okay. So I would like to read it without you, with you, not without you, with you, in order to give you the opportunity to make me questions, to ask me something that you need. Then you will find all the documents that I show you inside the folder that Benedetta shared with you. Okay. I make it a bit bigger. So the first very important thing is to state and to define exactly what we intend, what we think about talking about a project work. Maybe some of you already had the opportunity to make some project works during their academic life, during their working life. And so maybe after reading it, I would like to know what was the experience was about the project work. What are the things that you find more challenging? What are the things that you find more nice, amusing, maybe about the project work? I would like you to see the project work as something nice to do, not only useful, but also a way to try without any consequence, because it is always a simulation. So we can try to do it, we can try to solve it, we can try to do it both on individually or in groups. So the project work is a methodology. It starts from the principle of learning by doing, which is something that as a school, as a vet school, well, we well know what does it mean. We all know that learning by doing is one of the best way we can be sure that the skill that we try to give to our students, the competencies that we try to give them, are inside them, are not only something that they know, but something that they are able to do, an ability. So this method consists in a request of the concrete implementation of a project to which participants become familiar with the operational and organizational problems present within their training context. So, of course, what I propose to you the realization of a dual system project in order to evaluate the work-based learning competencies of ABET students. Because we are doing a class which is under the opportunity given by an international program, it is supposed that the project work will be evaluated. The point is not the evaluation, the evaluation is especially for me. It gives me the opportunity to understand whether I was able to give you the tools in order to make this project work. It will be, of course, the starting point of an analysis and a discussion that we will do all together on the 21st of November, 21st of November at 5 o'clock. Benedetta will send you again the invitation. So I tried to to make this project work as near as possible to your reality. So analysis of the context and needs. The context in which the project is carried out is a vet school based in Ghana or in Nigeria, so your specific school. The pupils are most all resident of the municipality where the school is located. I'm not sure that this is true. It is a simulation. The school population is heterogeneous because within the class there are various social strata, personal situations, different motivations, different hard and soft skills, different talents, I would say also. Therefore, there are pupils with different needs and requirements, which sometimes require more attention and must be followed individually, both for understanding and for the execution of the work. Others have greater potential skills, which require attention in the enrichment and variety of the proposal. In the class, there is one student with special educational need. Maybe there are more than one, but in my simulation, there is only one. All students will participate in a dual system project. So this is the situation that I ask you to start from. What are your goals? To work for a multidisciplinary project, of course, it is. It cannot be different as that. As we always say, the dual project is not something that is related only on technical subjects, but it is related to all subjects. It has to be multidisciplinary. Enhance pupils' experience, knowledge, and interest in their aspects, in their specialization, in their maybe if I say specialization è meglio. Include all pupils with their diversity. It is a diversity even if we have a more skilled pupil, more skilled student. You do not have to think to diversity as something that is less. It can be also more. And then apply WBL methodology based on dual system. So here you have a planning of activities. The planning of activities is something that you use as a checklist. So denomination is the denomination that you give to your dual system project. The tasks are the tasks that you think that will be given to your students inside the dual system project. So I say that. Starting from these tasks, you have the general competencies. These general competencies are the targeted competencies. They are related to the job description. Then, starting from these competencies, general competencies, you go to specific skills and specific knowledge inside the general competencies. I will give you, of course, a reference, so you do not have to find these skills or knowledge somewhere, but you will have a list. Starting from this list, you will adapt the specifically inside the specific list the specific ability that you think is related to the targeted competencies. This line can be wider, and you can open it and do it larger as you prefer. Then target students, number and classes. You can choose to put only one student. You can put only, it depends on the work that you want to do. If you are alone, choose one single student and try to prepare this project work on a specific base, on a single base. If you work in groups, which is possible, of course, please, I ask you to put more than one student as target in order to have the opportunity to wider your idea of the dual system project. Prerequisites. This is something that we teach at school, hard skills, starting from our subjects. This is something that we also teach at school, but is also a behavior, a personal situation of the student. Times. How much last the project. It is not the same if I put a 3-month project or a 6-month project or 1-month project. Of course, there will be differences of the quantity of skills that I can put in a small project instead of a larger one. What does the student do? before, during, after the project. What does the school tutor do? What does the company tutor do? Then activated experiences. You imagine what specific experiences, company stages, company internship, you can really activate following this idea. Methodology strategies. You can follow the last presentation that I show you, and you can choose from these ideas some methodologies and strategies that you think can be more useful in respect to the activated experience. Human resources, external, internal, especially for special educational needs students. Tools and materials. You can choose tools and materials, choose from the folder. I let you know immediately as soon as I finish this reading. And then the evaluation is something that you can imagine starting from the questionnaire. In the folder. Maybe only one end. Okay. Do you have any question about the project work? Please, Isaac, I give you the floor. Please, Isaac, I give you the floor.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes?
I wanted to ask if we can get an email or a link of which we can ask questions when along the line, maybe we want to ask you anything about the project work, and also the deadline for the submission of the project work. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, I can give you the email. I guess you already have it inside the folder, because I am one of the person that Benedetta put inside the call every day. But in any case, I give you my voila. mg.cucci@sanzeno.org. Sanzeno is my school. For the last day for submission. So we meet together on the 21st of November. It should be nice for me, if it is possible, to have the project work within, I say you immediately, The 21 is a Tuesday. Is it possible to you to send me by Saturday or Friday or Saturday? The 18th of November, if it is
Sure,
possible.
sure. It's okay. It's
Thank
okay
you
by
so
me.
much. Thank you. If you, in order to solve the project work, you can use, of course, just a moment, I open it again. Here it is. Well, the name of the document is Toolkit Work-Based Learning. In this toolkit, you find everything. You find the arrangements, the training plan, the template, record book. But the most important thing is that you find, for instance, the section employer, the section vet, the section student, the duration. Here you see you have this articulation. I will send you a complete form in which you have various articulation, various specification. Everything is already is in English, of course, and you can choose inside this document the specialization that you find the most interesting for you, because there is one of those of your school. Then you find the evaluation form. Assign a judgment of the following aspects related to the trainee based on the first interview and oriented or experience observed. Of course, it is a simulation. It is not something that is real. But starting from that, you can imagine thinking to a specific student, thinking to a specific situation, what the result could be. Indicate whether some of the following criteria, critical elements, occurred during the internship experience and what initiatives were put in place to overcome them. Of course, if you say yes to everything, there is nothing to overcome. But if you say no to one of these, then you have to put an opportunity of solution. We will talk about it. So it is interesting for you to think about what you should put if you say no. The trainee expectations are inconsistent with those of the company. No. So what shall we do? The trainee is not very interested in the activities proposed to him. No. What shall we do? Monitoring plan, evaluation for the company tutor, final phase. So the first one that we see was at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. Do you believe that the agreed training objectives have been achieved? Completely, fairly, little, not achieved at all. And why? What the adequacy of the competence from the student to the company? And then this is something that you can use for something very specific. You see, carry out the pre-assembly of parts. Not a general one, but technical one. You are not supposed to use everything. You can choose. Do not use the registration. It is not useful. You only know that it is present inside, but in this simulation, it is not useful. You can only put that it is something to do. Activities of the company tutor, registration of the traineeship. And that's all. This is something that is supposed that is done by the student. What are my professional goals? What are the reasons I choose this field? What are my expectations? You don't need to do that, the 28. You don't need to do that. That's all. You can stop at page 27.
Okay, madam.
So a very important and long class this afternoon. I thank you very much for your attention. I say you goodbye. See you on the 21. And of course, if you have any question for me, I'm ready to answer you. I will send to Benedetta all the documents that you see, that you have seen. And so I hope you have all the information to solve this project work. That I say again, you can do it on your own. You can do it in groups, as you prefer. I say hello to everybody.
Hello.
Ciao Benedetta.
Hello.
Thank you very much.
When will be the
Thank
turn
you, madam.
of Benedicta to do presentation? It seems she's only
Bye-bye.
always sending mails to the individuals. I'll be glad if you could allow Benedicta to also do a presentation, then we also listen to her one day.
Ibrahim, I do agree with you.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
yes. Benedicta has to do presentation one day.
Yeah, one day I hope I will be as good as Maria Grazia to do a presentation. Because, you know, I'm not a teacher, I don't have the experience, but I hope one day.
But you can speak good English. You take it and do the presentation. You guide you one day so that you also enjoy your abilities more. All right, bye for now.
Thank you. We keep in touch. I will send you all the materials that were presented today by Maria Grazia with all the instructions. And remember that you can always contact me or Maria Grazia directly. And that there is the Google Drive folder where you will find everything, all the registrations of the lesson, the PowerPoint presentations, and also a dedicated folder for the project work. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a
Bye
nice
bye.
day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Maria. Bye, Benedetta.
Bye bye.